Passing through the veil of mystery, seeking answers no one is brave to ask. This is Bound to Truth.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bound to Truth. Hope you enjoyed that last episode with Kathleen Tedder, the part 1 series. Now I'm going to play the part 2 series as promised. Again, a lot of additional great information that to share her experiences in more detail, as well as her thoughts for our future. Not just for herself, but, as a species. Pretty cool stuff, pretty interesting theories. I think you'll enjoy it. Really hope you do listen. And again, we really thank you all for watching. And how do you join this podcast? If you want to be a guest, I want to share thoughts, comments, concerns, insults. It is boundtruth34@gmail.com on X, Spotify, Instagram, finally. I'm on Instagram now, yeah. What else? Facebook, YouTube, Apple, and Amazon Audible. So everybody enjoy this next episode. She's awesome. She's special. And again, see you on the other side. Good night. Hey everybody, we are back. I had to do a little bit of tech work. Surprised I can do it. I have a brain still that works. Well, hope so. I do have a full set of hair, so something's good happening, I think. Anyways, enough about me, because I am just such a narcissist. That's what happens when you're raised by a bunch of hairstylists. Back with Kathleen here, and I want to pick her from the story. I believe you was with your friend and the ship that you saw and all these beings and like a Jesus-like figure, and really want to pick that up and continue your thoughts on top of that and capture that flow.
Okay, I did not yet describe what it looked like. So how about we go there?
Yeah, go for it, please. Yeah, go for it.
It was kind of a flat black, and I knew it was a metal, but I could not see any rivets or whatever you called any seams. It was solid. It seemed like just one smooth, continuous piece of whatever this. It was a light flat black, not real dark, sort of almost like charcoal or a gray, dark gray, but not silvery, not shiny, not. And like I said, I was shocked because there's what's putting. I grew up near MacDill Air Force Base, and I know airplanes. I went to all the air shows and had a lot of fun. And this thing was so different. I caught so many things that was, I knew it was off planet from somewhere. I just had no clue. And so, like I said, I could only see down a certain amount of one side as it approached. And there were lookout windows along the centers of the cigar shape. And then, like I said, I must have only seen hardly anything, because if it was as big as 3 football fields, I can't imagine. Yeah. I just can't imagine. Again, dead silent, no air stirring, nothing happening. It's just as if it had its own little floating energetic world, magnetic world. I mean, I don't know, I don't know the words. I'm not scientific, but yeah, it was so anyway, it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. The funny thing is, I told very few people. All my experiences, even from age 4, I kept to myself. Mm-hmm. I didn't share them. I just didn't share. There's a couple things I did share with my family, but mostly I just was in amazement. And I thought, oh my goodness, what a blessing for me, and I just put it away in the storage unit of my brain, right, until in my 60s when I was abducted, which was my last and my wake up. Well, not my last. I won't say my last. The one that woke me up into my spirituality and putting all of these things together finally, and pulling them out of the separate boxes I had them in, and getting rid of religious dogma. All of the above helped me get to an understanding.
Awesome. So when you saw this, going back to the craft, did other people, was there any, I mean, that's a pretty big craft, and and I know 3 links football, I played football, so that's 900 feet at least, right? And was there any reports on that? Was it kind of hidden? Was there a talk of town about it? Was it something that was just more for you to see? Yeah, can you share that?
There was very short and sweet news clips. I'm not even sure if we watched TV or had a TV in that little place. To be honest, we were goers and doers all the
Oh,
time.
and this is years ago, right? How old were you again? I'm sorry.
I was 16.
Yeah,
16.
and it's not like social media where people are just capturing crafts. So yeah, I can see where that could be possibly suppressed per se, right? Maybe in that sense.
I'm just very thankful I had the intuition to go to the store and try to find a newspaper,
Yeah.
because that verified things for me. And one of the professors, his daughter and I bumped into each other when I'm in my like 50s,
Hmm.
and we became very close. And then I've lost track of her. I know her last name was Williams, and I'm just kind of blank on her first name. But her father was one of the professors.
Wow.
And she was from, I think, Alabama. She had a real cute Southern accent.
Oh wow.
Arkansas, one of the A states, Arkansas, Alabama, I think Alabama. Anyway, so let's talk about coincidence, that I ran into somebody who knew the story because her father had witnessed that. Darn, I lost track of her. I'd
No,
love to
no.
take.
And what are I mean, just what are the odds of synchronicity, right? Um,
No.
so the wake up. Before I go into that, before I ask my question in regards to that wake up moment you're talking about, what else did you want to add? Something that I want to make sure I'm not taking away something else you want to share before we go to that.
About that experience, I can tell you under hypnosis what I had come out right away
Sure.
with, like I said, Dr. Melanie Barton Bragg, love her to death. She's got so much skill. She has 40 years experience working with satanic ritual abuse victims as well as ET abductees who have fear or
Wow.
harm or
Right.
PTSD. She's a wonderful lady, and she's my dear friend. Anyway, under hypnosis, I could see I was lying on a table. Again, I wanted to keep leaving my body. I did it a couple times, but this time it was very stern, and I needed to be still. It was sort of like very important to whomever, whatever. Like sort of like there was a bunch of people on board that were important, like our government people or something, something, maybe governments from other planets, all the above. I don't know. Something big was going on and it was important. And I felt that right away from the same gray
Mhm.
at my right side again, that maybe they all look alike. I don't know. But to me, it was my same gray that I've been familiar with,
Right.
and
Right.
which surprised me later, because that's when I actually realized that he was in this part. The other part I remembered, this part came out under hypnosis. Above me
Mhm.
was, do you know how when maybe like on Grey's Anatomy, they used to have this theater where surgeons are down below and people are looking in and looking
Yep.
over?
Yep. From the top area, kind of looking down in a way. Yeah.
So I'm lying on the table, and above me is surrounded, both sides at least. I don't know if it went circular or straight. I don't know, but I could see or sense thousands of beings watching. So I don't know how far this went down. It seemed like it went a lot further than just where my little area of my little bed part was, or gurney, as whatever I was laying on. Now, what I do remember consciously, but got more clarity from Dr. Melanie, was that to my down where my feet would be, to my right, there was a door, and beside the door were 3 men in military uniforms. And I recognized them as our military uniforms. Again, I was raised near MacDill Air Force Base. I was hanging around all kinds of people, and I've got big military in my family, mostly Marines, but whatever. So I knew that they were humans, right away. And then over about 10 feet, let's say where my left foot would have been straight down against the wall, were 3 other beings that were a little bit shorter, more like 5 to 5'5", maybe barely, and in military uniform. But I recognized it was different. It was not our military uniforms. And instantly I could hear them talking telepathically amongst themselves. And so I knew instantly that they were not human, or not, they were different. They were ET or some, I didn't know those words. I didn't know, just somebody.
Are you talking about and make sure I got this right? Are you talking about the military, like military, or are you talking about these interesting?
Yes, those now other than the people looking up from the viewing area, all these I'm kind of describing what was around me in my little area, and I didn't feel like there was a whole lot of people there, but definitely some action. And I'll tell you every detail that I do remember consciously first.
Wow.
So I like I said, I knew instantly that these people in this other uniform that I had not recognized before were speaking telepathically, and I could feel energetically, or empath. I'm an empath, so I don't know, but anyway, I could tell that they weren't trusting of the other guys. It's kind of, that's all I can tell you. I could feel that they didn't trust, or maybe they said something telepathically. I'm not sure.
You mean to the other ETs, the other beings, in a way? Like, was it?
Well, I felt that those three were ETs of their own, and then there were other ETs, but like as if they were just talking amongst themselves. Like I said, I felt like over the years that was a huge cruise ship from who knows how far, and they were on some kind of a cruise. But I felt like these were like dignitaries or very important people on this particular one. I don't know. I still don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
I'm hoping to know.
Wow.
So then to my further left, so I have on my straight down from my right foot the three military, our government type people, our military type people, and then 10 feet over to where my left foot was down would be the three what I felt like were shorter than normal humans. So I just kind of felt like they were different. Now there was one female and two males in that group, and but they were all pretty much the same height. But shorter than the men standing, the military men over there. Then over to my far left, with his back to me, was my Sasquatch being working with some kind of technology. I'll take a lie detector test. I swear on my heart and soul that I saw him, and he turned and he let me know, kind of gave a nod and got back to his business. And that I remember consciously.
Wow.
And that's about all I remember consciously.
So
under hip,
So when you said male, like said two females or one or two males and a female, how did you know? Were they? How did you know their sex? How did you? Or were they human looking, or were they humans?
Very human, very human, just a little smaller. And I knew that I knew that most humans don't have telepathy, and they were talking amongst themselves, and they knew I could hear them. Wow. They actually said something, I don't remember the word they used, but they gave me sort of a sign that they knew that I could hear them. But it wasn't but seconds after that they put me under. My gray did a touch on my forehead, and boof, I'm out. And that's all I consciously could remember.
Was there any message delivered? You said like that, this moment. What did they, again, I know I asked this before, the prior experience, was there any other knowledge given to you on more purpose and what the game, like, not I wouldn't say game, but yeah, what the purpose and what's what they were doing with you? Especially with the audience,
I know.
Yeah.
1967, I don't know what was going on in our government. I don't know what kind of things were happening. UFOs were barely heard of, it seems, to the general public.
Yeah, it was about at least quote since Roswell 20 years old.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'd only found, even at that age, I had already been interested in paranormal and odd things, and read every kind of book you could find on all the above.
Yeah.
And I was quite a reader too. I have to say, it's a blessing my mother gave us. We read. And so I felt again that there was some kind of, I don't know, meeting, like on safe ground where all these beings could get together. these important beings.
Mhm.
And there may have been, I don't know who was in the audience above looking. Maybe it was students, learning people, you know.
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
I have no clue. Maybe it was our military. Who knows? I couldn't get that even. I couldn't really leave my body on that one, as you know, I did at the beginning. But
Or it could be
it
like
was,
a cruise ship where you're just going, you know, on a cruise, like, oh, let's go look at the humans. Let's get grab one, take it on. You know, who knows? You're right.
well, I have no conscious memory, like I said, of ever experiencing the ancient mantis beings. But I feel like if I can continue, I'm trying to
Yes, please.
open my QHHT memories more and more, and I'm trying to do like a clock circling my experience around the room. What didn't I see? What you know? And I know that I'm going to be able to do this anyway. A little further over from the Sasquatch being was a mantid, an ancient mantid, and I felt female. I don't know, and then that's as far as I've gotten. So that would be like if I was standing with my arms straight out, it would be like my left arm, you know, straight out from my hand would be where that mantis being was, and it was kind of in the background a little bit more than the others, and it seemed like it had something in its hand. I don't know, a clipboard, a notepad, something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's as far as I've been able to go. But so far, I'm still working on meditations and I'm going to do the full clock and see what's around the rest of the craft. And now I have had an experience where I've prayed and they've given me answers. And I haven't yet really, to be honest with you, I haven't really prayed about the purpose of that experience. So I might work on that one. That might be something I need to do on my ceremony on June 21st out in the Ocala National Forest with my friends in the Sasquatch.
That's awesome.
So
yeah. I'm trying to pick, I got 20,000 questions in my head and I'm just trying to pick the one I wanted to ask. You know, and I know when I talked with Gary, you know, he tries to stay away from government stuff, which I get. It's not, you know, but I do want to ask this question with you. You know, I'm sure you've heard a lot about, you know, UAP stuff coming out, this disinformation, and you know that they're acknowledged. But you know, to me, I don't trust the narrative type of thing. You know how it is. It's like, well, it's coming out, but let's like try to you know uh control the narrative. And do you think our government is working with these beings or something? I'm just curious, like, what's your thoughts on that whole thing? Like, you know, yeah, I'm sure you know my question, but yeah,
absolutely, 100%
yeah,
know that they've been working with them. I do believe that in the past they were deceived, and we probably have been very deceived for whatever reason or whatever gain that the lower vibrational ETs may have sort of manipulated or tried to send us back into slavery or whatever
yeah,
you believe. But I do not feel that that's the same now. I feel that now everything is working in unity as it should be to help us consciously awaken and to work our way through the steps that we are supposed to go through to get us back to our heavenly home, back to our source. And we're all in many lives of school on this planet and other planets. And I have some memories of those things, but that's not important right now of being on another planet and another body. But well, anyway.
no, it's no, that's no, it's interesting because I won't forget there was I'm sure you know who Bob Lazar is, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and there was something he said in George Knapp. Everybody remembers him for exposing Area 51 and the technology, but there was something that a lot of people missed, and maybe you know it, is where he saw very brief was telling George Knapp, you know, hey, I saw this book about religion, like you know that again, this is what he's saying, that you know supposedly these beings created religion to protect our containers. And containers of what? He's like, I don't know, the soul, that type of thing. I thought that was interesting. I'm not sure how much that was true because you're going off a book that is written by the government, you know, that's their impression type of thing. I don't know if you heard anything like that before. type of thing? Because that's what Bob Lazar said, which I thought was really fascinating when this is a scientist talking about this.
I believe that what I have found is there's something about us humans that, yes, we are multitudes of other beings, and the genetics of, what is it they say, 22 different species. Don't know, I'm not a scientist, like I said.
Yep.
I believe that we are the most important thing in our particular universe, and we are powerful in that we have a soul. We're one of the very, very few, if not the only beings that actually have a soul with a direct connection to Creator. And they want it, and they want to manipulate it, and they want to understand it, and they want to learn how to grow it or make it or steal it or whatever. And so that is our, I guess, sort of our spiritual journey is, keeping our own sovereignty within, and understanding that we are special, special beings, and we're not just human meat on the earth to fight and die and go through these emotions. It's a lot bigger than that. We're kind of at the point where we're in a much higher dimension and closer and further along than most. And when I say we, I mean these last years.
You said something very interesting, because I'm going back to your comment regarding you as a kid floating around the ship. And again, I'm speculating here, is what if it wasn't just the body? It was like trying to observe that soul essence you're talking about. It's not just, and that's the way they can only do it. I'm just speculating. And maybe, like you talk about too, again, I'm just theorizing, that child you saw that looked just like you, clone, is it something they're trying to maybe recreate? Maybe, I mean, because I always find it fascinating. Like, we got these incredible tech beings that could be space, interdimension, all the above. But there's something about humanity. Maybe that's just hubris in our end of it. But we are such creative creatures of all sorts, both in science and in art. And anyways, I mean, this, in addition to our technology blowing up less than a century, but yeah, I'm wondering your thoughts on that. I mean, you think it's not just your body, they're trying to understand the soul?
They absolutely are. That is more important than the body, and they are now at this time trying to repair some of the DNA damages that the darker ones have created over the last 200, 2,000 years, whatever.
Oh, typical God and the devil. Yeah.
Well, I don't go there, but I
No,
just say low.
and I'm saying it in a sense of just simplifying it for people out there. You know what I mean? But yeah, we know it's more complex than that, but it is.
Sometimes I throw God out there because, I get God bumps instead of goosebumps,
Yeah.
things.
That's good.
I God bless everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, well.
Yeah,
but,
no, totally fine.
The right word. It's just,
Yeah, no, you totally. But anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
I have, over the last few times they've taken me consciously without my body, which is a whole nother bunch of stories. I felt that at one point I agreed. I mean, at one point in this body, in this lifetime, that I had agreed to do this. And so they've taken me, it's sort of like they've put me in a college. And what I mean by that is, one time they took me and I was awakened on a small round craft way out in the universe somewhere. And as I'm awakened and I'm looking and I'm in awe of the beauty of what's out there, I realized that the ship is a part of me, that this ship that looks like a round saucer, maybe 55, maybe 50 feet around. And I realized too, I was alone with this craft. And so in my consciousness tried to kick in and say, oh my God, you're flying this thing, and then I put fear into myself by that thought, and it's the ship started rocking, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to crash if I don't pull myself out of it. So whatever I did, I pulled myself out and kept cruising, and then they sent me back to my body. But they wanted me. Now, this was so long ago. This was long before I ever heard that these craft could be part biological. or part connected to our minds in any way. And I knew I had to go back into sort of a certain mind, like a relaxation or I don't know those terms anymore, beta, alpha, I don't know which brain wave, but whatever it was, I managed it right away and got control of the craft. So they taught me they taught me that. They taught me to drive the craft. I'm like, wow, so there's little things like that have happened in my life when they've left my body behind sleeping and just taken my consciousness. And, but like I said, everything's been such a blessing that I'm willing. And when I do my prayers and my meditations, I always ask for more contact with more sentient, loving beings, and it seems like I get more than most.
Wow. Geez. Do you think in our lifetime, with all the world where it's at, with all the chaos that's happening, especially after COVID, it's been just a very fun poop show of a world. Do you think there'll be any exposure where either our government will tell us, or do you think that these beings will just show themselves? I mean, or any thoughts personally from you? Not to say this is factual, but yeah.
I think that about half of our military are aware and informed and are working on their vibrational levels in order to meet and greet, and some are already in that position, and the other half are still in the mindset of let's make bigger bombs and protect the universe from us, pretty much. But they don't see it that way, but that's the way I see it. I know for a fact that it won't be the military that will be the outing. It will be people like myself and like Gary and probably like you. A lot of musicians, trust me, a lot of musicians. Even Jimmy had an experience with a UFO.
Yeah, and I kind of pulled that together. All the musicians, like even Randy, who I had on with his Bigfoot. I don't know if you heard his stuff. He's got a whole thing. He's a musician. But yeah, go ahead. Absolutely.
Yeah,
musicians,
right brainers. I don't know where, I don't know what, or if it's just where all the star seeds coming together now. I don't, whatever. But this is a time where they, like I said, they've taken a lot of the darkness out. Finally, a lot of it, and we are in the transition of making big changes consciously, spiritually. And hopefully physically, if we can get these organics growing and stop what's going on, which it's going to take us to do that. We can do it peacefully, and we can do it in writing to our congressman, or we can go kick butt, but let's do it with our words, hopefully.
Yeah.
But we need to take our country back. We need to, do the right things in every way and welcome them. And not have radar on them, which knocks them for a loop sometimes when we zap them. And that
I've heard about that.
Yeah, I'll explain. I had an experience, and this is my awakening one. Maybe I better go into that.
Yeah, go for it. It's a perfect segue.
Okay, 2016, I had volunteered on a cannabis growing farm that was also a cattle farm, and I was living in a little RV, and I was legal in Oregon to grow for 12 cancer patients with the state of Oregon. So I was growing cannabis and learning how to make Rick Simpson oils and tinctures and learning everything I could learn. And I had 2 good years of that. And one time I'm sound asleep. I don't remember the month exact. I was just, anyway, I guess I could get the medical records to find out. But anyway, I feel like, the dream you get when you're falling and you're falling and falling, but you wake up before you wake up.
Yeah.
Well, I was falling. I was having that dream. I'd had it before, but I woke up. This time I hit the ground. And when I hit, it woke me up, and I hit hard, or I felt. Now I'm in an RV. Where did I fall from? Okay.
Yeah.
A little RV, not a big RV. This is a little RV. This is the old trailer type. A little fifth wheel, I think. Anyway, it shocked me so bad, and I opened my eyes and I sat up, and when I did, I had extreme pain. I had a broken rib.
Wow.
I suffered with it for a day, and then I finally thought that something's really wrong, and I went to the doctor, and sure enough, I had a broken rib. And I was mad. I was mad at them. Oh, I was so mad at them, and I kind of cursed. I don't know that I cursed them, but I was just they had never hurt me before.
Right.
I was shocked. I felt deceived. I don't know what. So I had to get rid of that burden. I'm not carrying that burden of being angry or mad or holding things against anybody. You gotta look at it and forgive, and you played a part in it and they played a part and whatever. So after about a month of my praying about it, I'm out on the farm. I don't remember if I was with the marijuana plants or if I was with the cows, but I got this telepathic message of about 1,000 voices all at once, but synchronized, saying, "We're sorry." And I went, whoa, wow. I mean, it was, I can't explain how many, it sounded like 1,000 voices, but all synchronized. And I got it loud and clear. It stopped me in my tracks. And then they said, and it was all telepathy, it was all words and sort of visions that I get both. I get pictures, visions, as well as words, or sometimes I don't need the words at all. I just get the pictures. They explained or showed me and told me they were hit by an EMP pulse. Now, 2016, I knew about chemtrails. Yeah. I knew a few things. I didn't trust our government from day one because I've been fighting. Was a 14-year-old peace sitter against the Vietnam, wars. I mean, I'm aware.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
But I didn't know what that was. So after I got that, who could not forgive them, right? So then it all made sense. It wasn't even their fault that they dropped me. It was some governmental hit. They were hit with the radar or whatever. Yeah. Now this was in Oregon, like I said. And so after that, I thought, you know what? Two things have got to happen. One is I've got to learn some shaman, whatever, skills to protect myself. I have to, when I'm doing these things, I need to know how to clear dark entities and attachments. I need to go to school. Yeah. I need to learn some stuff, not only to protect my physical, but my mental, my emotional, my auric field, whatever, my energetic field. I just need to learn some stuff. So I had been speaking with a gentleman in California who was a monk, who was an author, who was 40-something years in high security, so high that he actually, he's not proud of this, but he was a security guard for Clinton, the male, when he was president. So, high up, high security is what I'm saying, right. And still is, and has had big businesses. Anyway, and he was a Marine, and he was in the Army, did two wars. And anyway, a real good all-around guy that had skill, and offered me to come down and grow marijuana indoors in California and teach me, put me in. He had a school, a sort of a spiritual school. And so I did. And 5 years later, he and I were just, it was never love, or it was never anything like that. It was like boyfriend and girlfriend for a couple of years, but then it was like roommates and sharing books and sharing information. And so after about the 5th year, I had this. I learned everything I could learn from him. Let's just go there. Yeah. Like the last year I was there on his Audible, I read 50 books. Wow. That's a lot, right? And all of it has to do with this research and these things. Right. And I haven't even yet really investigated the Sasquatch beings at that point. So I've done a whole lot more of this, I guess, research. If only I could maintain the, the recall when the time is right. But anyway, so I did that for 5 years. And then I had a gut feeling I needed, not only were we not exactly getting along, but it was time to move. And I felt a pull to come to Florida to be where my daughters were. And God bless her, my daughter invited me. And so I came to stay with her, had to share her bed in a tiny apartment for 4 years. But hey, we got through it. Hey. And but when I first came back, I found out my stepdaughter, who was the first love of my life, even before my daughter was born, had cancer, and it was time for me to come back. So I got to talk with her spiritually and be with her as she was transitioning. And so that was another big blessing. But I have to give kudos to Dr. John, who taught me a heck of a lot. Dr. John, I'll just leave the big E. Sure. And I won't put names out. No. Anyway, So that's what I did, and I have fought off some attachments and parasitic entities, and I've done it off of other people energetically. If I come into contact in a group of people and I see something dark, I just may be in my mind and pulling that thing out and sending it back to the light, or sending it back to wherever it needs to go. But so I got those kind of skills from those 5 years. Practice daily. I also learned remote viewing because he was military trained by Major Ed Dames. And I realized I'd already been doing that all my life when I would do psychic readings for people, is that I was actually remote viewing their life. I'd go right to them wherever they were in America or anywhere. I had a little internet site for a few years before my mom got real sick. It was reading people's spirit guides and ancestors, the immediate who's around you,
Right.
kind of thing.
Right.
The funny thing is, I had a lady, now this was way back. I'm in my 50s, and I'm somewhere in my 50s when I had this site. It was under Kundalini, I believe it was -tantra.com. And I was under Goldie 3 at that, or Merlin, which I have a Merlin site on Facebook, a group site. That name was given to me by a monk. It's a long story, another monk, but and it just means Merlin. It's just spelled goofy, like female Merlin.
No, that's cool.
It's a blessing name that I keep because it was given to me as a blessing. But okay, rattling on.
No, you're good. I want to kind of go back, to the remote viewing, because that's been actually something that's been thrown a lot around the UFO realm right now, is that that remote viewing is something that is not new to people who are just being aware of what's going on, but that's something that's been going on for decades. Remote viewing that I've heard from our government. So when it comes to like the psychic ability, and you say talk or read people, is that where you have to be in person? Is it someone you interacted like what we're doing? How does that work for you?
I didn't need any of the above. All I needed was an email and somebody giving me their permission, and I would go there and then I'd give them a report back. I didn't charge money. I just did it to
Right.
I was home with my mother just as she was getting sick, and it gave me an outlet where I could work my spirituality without putting my name out there too much, or getting
Right.
crosses burnt in my yard, which I've had happen twice from the KKK in my lifetime.
Oh, fun.
Wow. And I was also threatened by the Black Panthers in my youth. One time. I can't win.
I was gonna say, you just can't win. Like, I guess I gotta shoot.
Yeah, with that, right?
I mean, geez, it's like the enemy of their enemy is my friend, I guess. I don't know. That's what's worse than racial wars? Hell, a witch. Yeah, let's go after her. Yeah. Oh Lord, that's hilarious.
Well, back in '67, I do want to confirm or reconfirm that now that I've done lots of research and understand more, that was a MyLab craft in some way. Now, it was our MyLab people on board, but it was not our craft. They were on some kind of a real important, like I said, dignitaries of some sort from many different worlds, I assume, or maybe all of them came from Antarctica, and there's a world there that we know nothing about, inner Earth. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know where they came from. It's not my business or not important, but I did feel to my inner core and my deepest heart that what was being done was for our benefit.
Wow. Yeah.
And I feel that way.
And you know what? That's the hope, right? I mean, that something that has this magnitude of technology, knowledge, crossing over dimension, I mean, whatever you want to call, I mean, all the above, that it is benevolent and not malevolent. I mean, there's going to be malevolent things out there. I've heard about, the lizard people, if that's something you've experienced yourself, and all those type of things. Yeah.
Did psychically have I witnessed this Dr. John fight a lizard being. The lizard being was I don't know, looking up, it was like almost 2 houses. So what would that be? 30 feet, 35 feet up? I don't know.
Yeah.
I can only see up far enough, and I witnessed this completely psychically. they were having a battle. He's just a little man, but he had some power and he had some weapons and stuff. And this being had like military weapons all over his, like armor, even though he had armor, but he had these, he was like as if he was a soldier. But for the anyway, Dr. John took some kind of a move and took its head off. And I witnessed that, and it threw me back. It made me ill. I got a migraine.
Oh my gosh.
It really made me ill for 3 days. And then I got 3 days after that migraine, and then I could process what I'd witnessed. I had, on my last day as I'm suffering, I had a little guy, I can't call him a pygmy or a midget. I think of him more like in the Wizard of Oz, the little guys in the city.
Like the Munchkinland characters. Yeah.
But he wasn't funny. He's but he was that size, and he had kind of a belly like that. Yeah. But he was in sort of different demure clothes, and he had dark skin like Egypt or whatever, but also it had red in it, like native, real red, and yet dark like over there. Anyway, his skin was different, and he appeared standing about a foot in front of me, and so did his little son, who was the cutest little thing. It looked like Dad, but had a yellow T-shirt looking thing on, and he was so cute. I instantly called him George. I don't know why. And anyway, the gentleman that appeared, he just looked at me and kind of took in a deep breath, a real deep breath, and he blew prana right here on my so long, like this went on for like a minute, and I could feel the warmth. I could feel the breath. And I opened my eyes because I realized, I thought, oh, I'm dreaming. I opened my eyes and he's there. He's still there, and he's still blowing at me, and my eyes are open, and I can see little George. Now, little George took in a deep breath and tried to copy his father, and it was so cute because he was making the noises like a little kid does, It was adorable. And within 10 minutes, well, then they disappeared, and then within 10 minutes, my headache was gone.
Wow.
Finally. And then I've been processing that reptilian psychic thing. I think a lot of shaman on our earth have been having psychic battles like this. And I think it was given to me as a vision to witness. I only witnessed in order to know, KNOW, that the dark ones are being sent away. They're getting out of here. We're getting rid of them. And we're doing it, whether we know it consciously or whether we're doing it in our dreams or subconsciously. There's sort of a battle going on, or was going on. I believe it's been handled. I truly do.
What's interesting is that we talk about these people. I always look at, I'm not sure if you connect with this too, but our media, or no, movies and TV shows. It's almost interesting. Like I think of that show back in the 80s called V, where they visit.
I didn't watch a lot of that. I always thought I'd go back and see it,
but basically they're disguised as humans, but they're actually lizards.
Right.
And they reamped the show back in, I think, the earlier mid 2000s. And it's funny because, people talk about how they're supposedly, shape-shifting lizard people that are in control of our government and so forth on top of that. But, but I look at the movies and I look at stuff that's like, man, boy, they had it right in certain things as well. Certain things that you see in the movies. And so it's like these just kernels of, like, we're telling you in plain sight without telling you. People can say that's just coincidence or whatever. I mean, you look at Independence Day, you put enough fear in people. Aliens are the bad guys and humans are the good guys. And, Close Encounters of the Third, like Steven Spielberg, I'll tell you, he's on to something with certain things. I think he's been very, very unbiased, like, nothing threatening like you can with ET. But I don't know. Have you ever seen that where it's like, that's interesting to have this in films and in fiction and
I have seen the synchronicities over my years. Yes, yeah. I absolutely feel. Now, I know from John D'Souza, the X-File man. Do you know who John D'Souza is?
That's the FBI guy, right?
FBI guy, retired. I've read every book he has, and I've followed so much of his stuff. He says that the first, did he say 32? or 28. I can't quite remember. So many of the series of the X-Files are actually true and based off of his investigations.
Yeah.
But they're not in order, so we don't know. And they're at the beginning. I thought he said within the first 2 seasons. And then the government came in and told the guy, what's his name? I can't think of his name, that does the X-Files. But anyway, told
Chris
him
Wolf
that they
or something like that. Yeah. Or Dave. Yeah.
Yeah, Chris, somebody.
Yeah.
They told him you're going to do this, but you're going to do it our way.
Yeah.
And then so the truth became comedies and other falsifications and much drama added because they want money too. You know?
Yeah. Oh no. Of course. And yeah, I'm very familiar with this Sousa. And it's funny actually. There was a recent skiff. Well, there was supposed to be a coming out another public hearing around the UAPs back in May. That was promised by Anna Paulina Luna, but it never happened. However, it's not because it didn't happen. It didn't happen publicly. It happened behind a skiff, and it was actually with FBI agents. And the FBI is taking it supposedly very, very seriously. Like, this is our information. This is what we got. This is what's happening around. So, I mean, I'm curious. I really wish this would become more public knowledge. But like you said, it's either going to be, soft disclosure, or some people call it disastrous disclosure. I know it sounds like a very negative word, but they're talking about like shock value, like this is happening, this is what's going on, type of thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm just interesting to know what's going on behind the veil, type of thing.
I feel like they're showing themselves more and more to all kinds of people. People are having experiences in every way, whether it be an orb, a small orb floating through their house, or outdoors, the huge orbs, or the ones that I've seen that were the most beautiful things, beautiful golden radiant beings that saved my life just seconds before a car accident. Whether, whatever these orbs be, or the beings, or like I said, all of them, I believe people are having more and more of these experiences because they're trying to not instill fear. They're trying really hard because of those movies of fear, like you said, Independence Day, and the aliens are all bad, and even the Alien movie. Yeah. And that alien evidently does resemble supposedly one of the aliens that our government's been working with.
You're talking about you're talking about the one from Ridley Scott, the first Alien movie?
Yes.
Oh
so
God!
They say,
no haste hugger. No haste. Sorry, face huggers. Sorry.
All I can remember is they got her pregnant. That's all I can remember. Oh my God!
Oh Lord, that's just a pair. I do not know. No, if I see a face hugger, nope. I don't care. I am definitely running. I am totally like, nope. I'm not that.
Anyway,
yeah. Sorry.
Because of those, it's. That's even why I was told in the Redwood Forest about 7 years, well, more than that, 7, 8 years ago, by the fairies and the elementals there, that they are having more contact with us and want to get back as it used to be, where they were visible and interacted with humans, but they don't want to cause fear. They don't want to be captured. You know what I mean? They don't want to be hunted. They don't want to be anything. And until we can get to that point where they feel safe, they're not going to. But the few people that have the right hearts and, that have the right vibration, whatever you want to say, are being contacted. And a lot of them. I mean, people like, for instance, I have a friend who, I think you might be interviewing her, Monique.
Okay.
She was whining because she'd never seen a UFO. Whine. Here she's got this amazing life history of past life vision in Egypt that's just out and out amazing, and I have verified it as much as I can on this earth, and I say she's 100% credible, and they're having all these experiences to not cause fear and to have soft disclosure and to make the public the ones that are going to stand up for them or introduce them or be ambassadors, which is my job. They told me in 2016 that I was sort of an ambassador. I didn't know what the word meant, so I didn't like it at first because it sounded governmental and in some way.
Yeah.
But now I understand that they just mean I'm going to help integrate, maybe with these type videos. I'm not sure. Maybe my book that I'm working on. I'm not sure. But so I believe it's going to happen very soon. I'm going to say it's going to be over and done with by 2030. And that's like, oh, really? 5 more years? Oh no, I think like Chris Bledsoe also says about, I think it says it was 20, 26 or 20, 27,
27, you
where
know what? 27 has been thrown out a lot recently.
yeah, yeah, I think
That's the big one.
it's when a certain planet gets in a certain astrological alignment
Right.
is when it will be happened, or the biggest part of it. Now, one thing I'd like to say about fear, why they don't want to cause fear. These beings have so much energetic or psychic or intuitive, I don't know what the words are, the biggest brains, whatever they have. When we go into fear, even if it's within our heads and we don't utter a word and we don't scream or we don't anything, it hurts their heads. It hurts them psychically terribly.
Interesting.
So they don't,
Never thought about
yeah,
that.
yes. So that's one reason they knock us out and put us under paralysis and stuff, is that screaming. Not all of them. Some of the ebens and biologicals and such that are mixed, partly tech, partly AI, partly whatever. They're not so much, but the true beings in our dimension, when we scream or have fear and our blood pressure goes up and whatever happens to us, that energy hurts them.
So they're very sensitive to that vibration compared to just us hearing. They experience that whole sense, not just verbally, but just
not all the beings, but several that I've been aware of that they've let me know. So I guess that's one reason they give me so many blessings and so many experiences, because I haven't had any fear. Yeah. I just look at everything in awe and oh, wonderful. Look at this.
Wow.
So,
I got to say this. I'm envious that you've had these experiences, because I've always been, since I was 9, I was raised in Catholic school, and I'm the guy with the scholastic papers. Like, people get the Berenstain Bear books and everything. I'm the guy who got the UFO one. And I'm the guy who got the book about vampires and werewolves, that type of thing. I've been interested in all this stuff since I can. I don't know why. I can't tell you why. I just have been. And I'm like, God, I really wish I had an encounter of some sort. I wish I had this. Have I seen UFOs? Yeah, I've seen UFOs. I've seen certain things, probably maybe 7 or 8 that I can't describe in my lifetime. But man, my mind thing is like, they're probably like, this guy asks way too many damn questions. Don't get this guy. He's gonna just not gonna leave. So, so I think it's amazing and a blessing for me and for our audience out there to hear this story, not just your origin, but also your experiences and what the future hopefully brings. That's going to be bright, which we all want.
I 100% feel if we can hang on through these last whatever turmoils that we're going through of control and poisons and what have you, if we can just hang on, I think we're going to be fine. I think we're going to see I can't say I don't know that the world will turn gold and shine and sparkle. I can't say that. I think we're going to have to do a lot of the work ourselves as humans in retraining and unprogramming our brains and learning the earth, connecting to.
You know what too, it's funny is that, especially with all the research I've done and my experiences, like you talking to you and other people, the world just seems different. It almost feels it's got a different look to me, and I realize how artificial everything is because of what we built. I work in a financial industry, and I look at it's a necessary evil, unfortunately, with money. But it's just like, this is something that people die to do, to earn it, which brings nothing. It doesn't do that. And it's like, even going to the store and everything, it's like you look around like, man, people knew. If people knew that the world is bigger than what it is, we wouldn't be so self-absorbed, that, I mean, and I feel personally, and maybe it's me, but I think I'm an empath too, because I get really sensitive around my surroundings. I feel something's not right. I just kind of like, is it me or is what's going on? But it's almost like sometimes I'm scared to go outside or go anywhere, because you just feel this, like something's happening. Like, I just feel like something's happened the last few years. I don't know if you kind of feel that yourself or have that understanding experience.
I feel, and I had a vision where wasn't a vision. I was driving down the road towards Clearwater, Florida, 2 or 3 years back, and all of a sudden I bilocated. In other words, my body was driving on autopilot, and I was up looking at two
Yep.
worlds,
Wow.
two Earths splitting, separating. I was seeing this, and it was gold. I have to give that gold word out, but that may be something else that's connected to me regarding my golden orb situation, my story there. But anyway, this world was gold and bright and beautiful and full of light, and it was separating from the old. And then I flew back into my body, and I realized, oh my God, I just bilocated, and that was like kind of the first time I'd been doing it, but that was one of the first times I realized I was doing it when I did it,
Wow.
Anyway, it was, so I kind of feel like there's a separation, whether it's an energetic separation where many of us are graduating the school of hard knocks down here, and we may be going to that lighter, more beautiful planet, or the earth splitting. I don't know. What is the answer? All I know is I went there and I witnessed it, and it was so amazing. I was driving down the road trying to get home, trying to do a video. I had no idea what I was doing, but trying to tell people that I just saw a new earth, and I'm driving traffic.
And you know what? It could be, and it could be one of those. And it's funny. I knew the word bilocation because being Catholic, we those words are thrown around like Padre Pio and so forth. So I'm like, oh, bilocation. I know exactly what you mean. Who knows? I mean, and again, not going religious here, but you hear about prophets, you hear about this, you hear about visions. Is it something that could be literal, or is it something that's just figurative in a way where that there's going to be a split. We don't know that all humanity, because change is scary for everyone, good or bad. Change is scary for everyone. That's just a fact. And that's okay. It's about how do we appropriately handle it? How do we manage those changes? And how do we do it together and not alone? Right. And I think that's important. I think what you're doing, you, Gary, and others out there, is important work to prepare people for those embraces. And it's funny how you say ambassador. It's almost like, you get ambassador, or representative, or disciple. I mean, whatever you want to throw it at there. It's one of those where it's just like, hey, humanity, get where you guys are the people out there who are going to be, on the ground to help hopefully, you know, help lead this way in the way it's almost like trying to find, like I said, a soft launch, trying to make it where it's like is as like be prepared and as much as possible. And you're right. I think with our government, and like I said, I'm not being anti-government. I'm talking about the powers of be. It's because I think that they know they have no control over it.
They don't.
And that's where the narrative comes in. And that's where
that's why they do the attacking. They want to know, they want to control it or make money off of it or whatever.
And it's, I mean, you see it. I mean, like I said, it's even in movies. You people don't understand that at birth, we are hypnotized. We are hijacked in our brains, good or bad, because of our experiences, either with family, friends, all the above. But also what we digest in our bodies when we watch media and those movies and so forth. And this is why I think we have those problems we do have, and I think it's important that people need to feed the good things, in their soul and in their bodies, and ask questions, and create dialect and not arguments. Either it's absolute truths, right? I mean, am I kind of line where you're kind of like at with that?
I agree 100%. No one can make us mad. No one can make us angry. No one can make us hurt. We have that emotion. We allow that by our response.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people out there have no clue of that, and they just go around kind of in that state, attacking, because deep within, it's just a fear that they have, or insecurity, right, or survival mode, or whatever be the reason that they're into that. But by the ones that I see coming aware and awake, and I have a little devil in me, a little 5-year-old inner child that loves to throw out in the most craziest places about Sasquatch, UFOs and stuff, like at a grocery store in line, or the lift, on a lift ride. Oh, have you seen a UFO? I just that little devil in me always has to throw that out there and plant seeds in my own way. Sometimes they just look at me, don't answer, but
Oh, I do the same thing at work. It's hilarious. Where one, I talked to this guy yesterday, who was doing some stuff at our work at our bank, and he's like, "Oh yeah," it's like, "Actually, yeah, no, I live in New Mexico." I'm like, "Oh, Roswell, right?" Oh, hey, what about the aliens, man? What about aliens? Like, I don't know nothing about that. It's like, come on, man. And my boss is like, "Dude, what are you doing?" I says, I can't, man. I got to do it. I gotta. Every time I'm in the military, some person, hey, so what about those aliens? Every time. I don't care. I get lucky sometimes. I've had one guy who it was at a garage sale event with our community, and he was in the military, and I asked him, "Hey, so what about UFOs and everything?" He's like, "I'll show you something." He pulls up, he was in his jet, and he's got camera. He's like, "These are objects I've seen," and so I'm like, "Dude, that's awesome."
Wow.
Sometimes you strike gold with people, and it's just, and because I like that firsthand stuff. I'm like, yes,
I went to the doctor the last couple of weeks, and two different doctors. I'm having neck injections, and one doctor does the injections, and the other's like almost a neurosurgeon. Brilliant guy, a younger guy too, maybe barely 40s. I don't know. Anyway, I had to throw up with the one doing the injections. We started talking about ghosts and psychic. I don't know how. His wife has a good friend who's into spirituality, and so his wife is learning. Anyway, he was open to it. He asked questions. He was just putting in his 2 cents worth. He was all about psychicness being real and certain things like that.
yeah,
Then I go to follow up with the other doctor who prescribed this procedure, and we ended up talking about Sasquatch. So he said, "Do you think they're real?" And then I had to tell him a bit of my stories. Yes, they are. Then I left. He said, "Well, do you think they're dangerous?" And I didn't realize he didn't have enough time for me to finish explaining. But I said, "Well, wouldn't you be if your family was hunted and killed, and then the government pops in and military comes around and surrounds everybody, takes their phones, threatens their lives, makes them sign things, threatens their children's lives?" I said, "And everything disappears. Wouldn't you be angry?" And then he got up and left soon thereafter. But he said, "Oh, I have to do some research." So now I'm collecting books for him when I go into 2 weeks. I have a couple. I'm hoping to be able to afford Quantum. I think it's Quantum Bigfoot by Ron Moorhead. It explains it better than most. Anyway, I'm trying to get this doctor some books. I think he'll follow up. I really do. He was very interested. But
yeah,
I left it on a note that they're dangerous. And I want him to know that no, they're a clan, they're beings. They have family, they have get-togethers, they are spiritual beings, they have medicines that can heal, they can leave their bodies like we do astrally,
yeah.
which means they have soul and spirit, so, and they were created by source. They can call them whatever names they want to call them, but I'm telling you, they have souls and spirits, and they have big hearts when you know the
Yeah.
real being.
And
But there
yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say there are 7 or so different types out there, and some people in research have said that they feel that they were part of the government experiments, and of those government experiments to make super soldiers or soldiers out of these beings or manipulate them or whatever. That those are the ones that are the angriest and the most vile and the ugliest, and like their teeth are all misshapen or so many toes or not so many toes, just the real ugly ones. And I do in fact feel that they were turned loose into several of the national parks as an experiment, maybe tagged, maybe chipped, I don't know. And same with Dogman and some of the other beings. I've not yet seen Dogman or
You know what?
those.
That's interesting you say that, because there's actually factual research back in Russia with Stalin, combining gorillas and genetics with that. They were trying to hybrid,
Right.
and and would it be far fetched that our own states wouldn't do that? I mean, we're always trying to find the bigger stick.
Yes. Well, we tried, and we do have I don't know if it's a military base, but there's a place. I can't think of the name of it at the moment. Maybe I don't want to say it anyway, but there is a place that's somewhere on, I believe, in the East Coast, not on the coast, but somewhere on the eastern side of the states, that actually has labs that are doing these things. And I've been trying to read everything I can possibly find. There's a difference between a werewolf and a dog man. One has a tail, one doesn't. One stands up straight like men. One is more on all fours. I'm really trying to grasp. I'm not into really cryptids, but I've been forced to be into cryptids because of my world and
Yeah,
the experience I've had. So I'm just trying to grasp and understand. I believe that the people that disappear, sadly, I've been trying to. I followed Missing 411, David
Dave
Pilatus.
Pilatus, I was just thinking that. Yeah, incredible research.
And I've tried to use my psychic abilities to find just see what happens to these people. I get blocked. I can't believe that I haven't one time hit something. I sometimes get the feeling, well, they've passed, and I feel like they're going to find them past. But not all of them are always past. Some of them just have memory losses and wake up in strange places and different things. But anyway, I feel that the ones that have been taken were probably most likely taken by the ones that our government manipulated and or whoever, maybe not our government. I don't know who is behind those kind of things, but and then I understand that when they do attack a human or they find out that one of them got out of control as a rogue or whatever, that then they come in and take it away or do whatever they do with it.
Wow. Wow.
That's
Okay.
what
Yeah. Geez. Okay. Yeah. We'll be in Washington. Trust me.
I have lived in Bellingham, Washington. I've lived in Oregon, Eugene area, and Roseburg area, and I've lived in Sacramento and Alturas, California, and I stayed in Reno for a while. And I've seen or had a Sasquatch or UFO experience in each and every one of those places multiple times.
Wow. Yeah, and there's a lot of forts here too. That a lot of bases here too that are just questionable.
Yeah,
I would just say that.
I have this gift where I can feel ley lines and dragon lines. And when I've been traveling, which I've done a lot of while I was out west, a lot. Every weekend I was going hours of driving to investigate and study and get out on BLM land and out in national parks and just really getting out there every weekend from the time COVID hit. They said, stay home. I took off every weekend and went to the mountains. But the experiences are, I just can't, I can't even begin. I can't explain how many different experiences and portals and things that are out there. But by feeling the ley lines, as I'm traveling through different states, I automatically feel a dark energetic, or maybe it's more like an electrical humming I feel when I'm over over the tunnels of a military base or a dome. I feel it. I absolutely feel it. And like I said, I can feel the ley lines out in the woods and the dragon ley lines, which is sort of a gift. I don't know what gift it's for or who, but I guess I've heard Native Americans would put their teepees or certain teepees or have certain ceremonial rites on the ley lands or the dragon ley lines.
Yeah, and here I'll tell you this, because one of my co-hosts, John Hershey, he and his family live on a res because they're native, part native in a way. No, not in a way. They are native, and I'm by another res too, where I'm at, like right pretty much next door. Technically I'm on res land. This is not owned by them anymore. And I have experiences here as well. I've done sessions here at my house one time with my friend John and I were having a few drinks, like, dude, let's just bust out the ghost gear and see if we got anything run around. And it was off the hook. And it's not saying that my house is haunted. It's just the land, the land. And when I say it's occupied, I'm going to change the word. It's very occupied spiritually. And, but yeah, geez. I know we went really, really long. I'm going to make this a two-part, everybody, because I want to make sure that people, really digest this information. I think the story is well, needed to be heard and, processed. And before we go, I'm gonna have you hang on afterwards for just a quick little bit. Any final thoughts you want to share, Kathleen?
I have found, like I said, putting my ghost, my Sasquatch, my ET, putting it all in a bowl and mixing it up and seeing it in a new light as compared to different things. I realized, and I have found that crossing over or transitioning in that place, wherever, ET and our family members are together there in that plane. And I have visibly seen that. I guess I can interdimensional travel a bit more than most. And I've seen that and I've realized that. So I'm so excited that not only do I have these lifelong ET friends or interdimensionals, but I also know my family are with them. And I do want people to understand a little more about that. because that is the most beautiful thing I think I've discovered, and feel enough to put it out there and give it as my truth
Wow.
and my reality. And I love that. I mean, all my family's gone, all my elders, I'm the elder in my family, and I'm, they're gone. And knowing that they're interacting and they're in that school now, that makes me very happy. Even though there's so many dimensions, there's one place that's an equal plane or a dimension.
Wow. Well said. And that is nice to know that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh yes, oh yes, and it's getting brighter all the time. Watch those sunspots.
That's right. Get some shades, put some UV blocks on, people, spiritually, I mean. All right, everybody. How can you reach the podcast? Again, it's boundtotruth34@gmail.com. Comments, question, answer, thoughts and theories. And if you want to be a guest on the show, or even questions you have for Catherine, please feel free to send them my way. I'll be glad to give them to her. We are on Spotify, YouTube, what else? Geez, so many platforms, Buzzsprouts, Facebook, X, sort of on Instagram. I'm getting there. I'm still on my beef with Instagram. I don't know why. I'm trying to figure that out. And then also on Amazon Audible. Until then, everybody, see you on the other side.